What's up, YouTube? It is your boy JB, and we're here today with the review for Love and Marriage Huntsville Season 3, Episode 10. The episode was titled The Transparent Trap. I don't know why it was named that. That's an interesting name for an episode. Alright, you guys, so before we get into review, if you guys are watching this video or any other on the channel and are not already subscribed, I'm going to need you guys to do me a solid favor. Hit that subscribe button. Hit the notification bell button, light up all the buttons on the channel, share the video, and with that out the way, you guys, without further ado, let's just go ahead and discuss Love and Marriage Huntsville, shall we? All right, you guys, so with this episode, I can officially 100% tell you guys that I do not like Tiffany or Lewis. Both of them can go for me. So we see the guys are outside and they are playing basketball, right? They're playing horse, horse all around the world, whatever you want to call it. So, with the exception of Martell, right? So, it's just Lewis, it's Marceau, and it's Maurice. So, they're talking about the events that happened the night before with Mel and with Martell, right? And they talk about Mel and her music, right? Mel is putting her pain into her music, and there's nothing wrong with that. Absolutely nothing wrong with what Mel is doing. I do have to agree with Marceau, right? I do feel that with Mel and Martell, I do feel that they drag the kids into their shit, and I don't think that that's right. Like I said last week, and I still stand on what I said. The fact that these kids know... Now, I'm not here to defend Martell. You guys know I don't defend Martell. I've never defended Martell, and I'm not going to start defending Martell. But I don't agree with the kids knowing any of these songs that Mel have written about this situation between him, her, and that idiot Arian Curry. Now, the song that she said last week, because I didn't catch it until I watched it on a repeat, right? She kept saying the song that Martell was talking about is her next hit single, Down. I'm like, oh, your next hit single. Speaking of a reality star that has an album out, Candace Dillard from Real Housewives of Potomac. She has her debut album out. It's called Deep Space, I believe the name of it is. Go check it out, you guys. I'll definitely discuss it in the Real Housewives of Potomac review. Deep Space is a really good album. She has this one song on it that I love so much. I wish it was longer than a minute and some change. It's called Show Me. Great song. But I just don't agree with those kids knowing any of these songs, right? Because those kids are very smart, right? They can Google shit and actually figure this out. Because I'm pretty sure there have been other YouTubers that have talked about Mel's music, right? In depth. I don't know that for a fact, but I'm pretty sure it probably are, right? Or on these Facebook groups or whatever. So I don't agree with that. But Martell did what he did, and she made the music about it. So I'm not mad about her making the music. Absolutely not. I'm not mad about her making music. I just don't think that those kids should know anything about what's going on between she and Martell at this point. So then they talk about the fact that Marceau and Tisha went to surprise therapy, right? And they're saying that, both Maurice and Lewis say, well, that should say something to you, which absolutely it really should. But unfortunately, we're talking about Marceau, so it's not saying anything to Marceau. It's not saying anything. What actually it is saying something to him. It's saying something to him that he feels that his wife is insecure in herself and in him. Marceau, that's not really what it's saying. What it's actually saying is, I see that there might be some communication issues between us, a lack of this, a lack of that. It's not necessarily saying that she's insecure. You don't have to go to you don't have to be insecure to go to therapy with your spouse. You could just see that there's probably a point of contention or just a point of you guys drifting apart a little bit. You go to therapy, you talk it out, you put all your feelings on the table, and you find a resolution. It doesn't mean anything about insecurity. So then Martell joins them, and Martell thinks that it's a good thing. On what planet, bruh? Martell, on what planet do you think that this was a good idea? You and Mel were going to therapy as well. To Dr. Francis as well. It didn't help you at all. Not one bit did it help you. Because you continued to do the same shit that led you to therapy, which was screwing Arian Curry. But okay. Pot, meat, kettle, I guess we're going to say. Right? Right? Pot, meat, kettle? Should we say that? Yeah, we're going to say that. So, Marceau tries to give Martell some advice about him and Mel arguing. How do I feel about that? I wouldn't take it. Honestly, I wouldn't take advice from any of these men, to be quite honest with you. Because I don't think any of them are in a great position to give advice, right? Because Martell divorced from Mel because he cheated. Lewis, we don't know what your situation is. Don't really care what your situation is. So, X you out. Maurice, yes, you and Kimmy have a great marriage, but your track record before Kimmy was with Kiowa, and we know how that ended. And I still think that there's something that he's not telling, but that ain't got nothing to do with me. It ain't got nothing to do with me. We're gonna move on. Alright, guys, so then the ladies joined them, with the exception of Mel, right? So Martell went to go check on Mel, and they came out to the pool. So Martell went to the run. And at this point, I'm gonna be honest with you guys, I couldn't hear everything because my cousins came to the house and they were talking hella loud. So I didn't go back and rewatch it, but I do know the gist of what Mel and Martell were talking about, right? I know Martell said that he went to go check on Mel after that argument. I'm like, why did you go check? But she said he did come to her door, but the reason she said Martell came to the door wasn't just check on her. It was because he wanted something and never gonna get it, never gonna get it. And it's on the radio right now. Never, it's on the radio. I kid you guys not. I can't play it, but it's on the radio. In Vogue, My Lovin', You're Never. It is literally on Sirius XM right about now. I did not even plan for that to happen. God, I wish I could turn it up just a little bit, but I don't want to get demonetized for it. Now, I don't think I would be able to go on a trip with Mel and Martell because they're going to argue. I wonder what part is it at? It's almost over. Yeah, I can go on a trip with Mel and Martell because they argue. And she told him that him mentioning the kids was triggering to her, right? And I can get that. I can honestly get that the kids can be a trigger for her, especially you mentioning them, because when you were out doing your business, were you thinking about your kids? And even though he said last week he always thought about his kids, I'm like, no, you wouldn't. You weren't thinking about your kids when you was doing it, dipping it and doing it, right? And then she also tells him that him talking about her music is triggering. I can see that too. I'm not gonna sit here and fault Mel at all. That's not what I'm about to do, right? So then they started arguing about side chick. I'm like, what the hell? So he told Mel that she's a side chick to two guys who were engaged. I'm like, two? Well, damn. First of all, how do you know? Is the question. Martell loves to make a dig at Mel. Because you guys remember last season, he called her a hoe. Like, you love to take digs at her. And why? It just doesn't make any sense to me. He loves to take a dig at Mel. And it's very annoying to me. Very, very annoying. He does say that he supports Mel. I'm like, oh, that's my shit. Uchi Wally Wally. Oh God, I'm about to have to pause you guys so I can hear that. He said he support her. Marceau and Destiny had to come in there and break those two up. I'm like, oh. Marceau's big wide back behind. You know what? I'm not even gonna joke about it. I just really could not go on no trip with Mel and Martell because they argue. And I don't need to be. If we went on a vacation, I don't want to be around this shit. The fuck? No. But let's move on, you guys. All right, you guys, we are back. So, Tisha, she went to talk to Mel, right? I'm not gonna do Tisha this voice this week because she didn't annoy me. Well, actually, she did, and we're gonna do it later. So Tisha, she went to talk to Mel, right? And she's apologizing to Mel. Mel says, "Well, if I knew that Martell was coming, I probably would not have booked my flight here." Yeah, Mel, that is your paycheck, so yeah, you would have went, but okay. So then we see, no, that scene that hadn't happened, right? So Lewis and Tiffany, they decide that they want to play a game. I'm like, oh, a game with Lewis and Tiffany, I'd pass. I'd rather eat bricks. I'd rather eat glass. I'd rather try to chew on cement. Anything than play a game with Lewis and Tiffany. So what the game is, they're going to pick a question and they're going to answer it. So someone picked a card. I think it might have been Mel. And it said, are all your needs being met? And she's like, what do you mean? They meant sexually. She's like, oh yeah, that's fine. So then another one asked, how many people have you slept with in one night? I'm like, why do y'all need to know these answers to these questions? So Martell said 2. I'm like, oh, so he probably slept with Mel and when he slept with Ari and Curry. Girl, oh, that's just nasty. So then Maurice says 6. I'm like, how in the hell did you sleep with 6 people in one night? Was it an orgy? It had to be an orgy. No judgment, but damn. Have I ever slept with 6 people in one night. 6 people. How in the hell did you have the energy for that? The most I can tell you is, I'm not telling you what number, but it's more than 1. But I ain't gonna tell you how many people. So then someone asked, then the next question was, have they ever had sex in public? Marcel and Tisha have. I think they had it on the interstate, right? Have I ever had sex in public? Oh, plenty of times. Plenty of times. In my 20s. My early 20s. In my 20s, man. I had sex. And I don't have a problem telling you guys where I've had sex at. I've had sex at a park. I've had sex at an abandoned church. Where else? An abandoned church, a park. Most of them are parks. Most of the times have been parks, but that one time it was the abandoned church. One time was actually I had sex in a field, an open field, at night. Damn. Yeah, the majority is parks. The majority is a park or an open field. So then they want them to drink if they are happy in their current relationship. Okay, Tiffany. Are you and Lewis trying to tell us something, that you guys are not as happy as you want to portray yourselves? So everyone takes a shot and Marcel's like, oh, I didn't take a shot. Shut up, Marcel. Damn. So, then they say drink if you've been unfaithful. It was at this point that I'm like, yeah, these two are really working my nerves. So everyone, and they said it doesn't have to be in your current relationship. So everyone, I believe, with the exception of Tisha, drank, right? Tisha's never been unfaithful. I'm like, oh, that's cool, right? Commendable. And I was, and in this moment, I'm like, wait a minute. So are Lewis and Tiffany trying to figure out who they can sleep with for the night? Honestly, okay. If I were to play swingers with anybody in this group, if I were to play a swingers game, just saying, I've never swung, so don't look at me like, hey, JB, he swung before. No, I've never done that. I have had a couple that tried to take me home one night at a club, but it didn't go out. It didn't go down because I was thrown off, dancing with the girl. But then the guy coming up behind me and is rubbing my back. I'm like, oh, bruh, you don't have to rub my back. And ma'am, it was nice dancing with you, but you and your man got to go. They offered me a drink. I'm like, nope, you can go. So if I had to pick a couple to swing with, because I feel like that's where Tiffany and Lewis were heading. If I had to pick a couple to swing with, God, who would that be? Because Mel and Martell argue too much, and that would just kill the mood. Child, I guess I would go with Kimmy and Maurice. I guess I'd rather go with those two. Because it definitely, yeah. Now, Tisha, at this point, why did you want everybody to go around the group and give advice? You just been as messy as what's her name? As Big Forehead Tiffany. So Destiny has no advice. I'm like, thank you. Martell says, take care of your mate. Once again, the pot meet kettle. Did you take care of your mate? So then Marceau asked Destiny, what did she do for LeBuick to leave? I'm like, what did she do? What did she do? What did she do? No, what you can ask is at what point in what happened in the marriage for it to, for you guys to break up. You don't put fault on her because you don't know if she's at fault or if he was at fault or if they just basically grew apart from each other, which I don't know how they grew apart from each other. So, yeah. Now I had the question, I'm like, are Tisha and Marceau staying together for the kids? Because she made a mention of that. And it came back up again in the episode, later in the episode, and we're going to talk about that, right? So Tisha says, so Kimmy, can I ask Maurice a question? And I don't want you to get upset. And, Kimmy was like, go ahead, ask him whatever. So Tisha, you pissed me off in this scene, right? Because you really tried it. She was like, so, Kaya told us before that she felt like you guys could have worked things out and that basically you left without trying. He says he did. He said it was best for them to be apart because he didn't want to be in a part of a toxic situation, much like what Mel and Martell are. Nobody wants to be around toxicity. It's best for me to say, hey, this is not working out for either you or me, and let us end this situation before things get worse. Have you guys never watched Snap? Do you guys not watch the ID channel? People that stay in shit too long, bad shit typically happens. The fuck? So yeah, Tisha, you were fucked up in that situation. So let's move on, you guys. This is gonna be a long review too. Now here's a scene where I really realized it just wasn't for me with Tiffany and Lewis, right? So we saw Marceau and Tisha talking, right? I have an issue with them talking about the situation between Mel and Martell because they're friends with each other and they've known each other for years and they've been around throughout this whole thing with them. And again, like I said, I don't know how anybody is on a vacation with these two. But then you got Tiffany and Lewis in their room and they're discussing people's relationships, right? I'm like, I don't believe that Tiffany and Lewis's relationship is nearly as perfect as they want to portray it out to be. Like, y'all are faking and frauding, so shut the fuck up and leave me the fuck alone. So the girls went out, right? And Tiffany has never been to Vegas before. I'm like, oh, okay, nothing's wrong with that. I just like the fact that Destiny was on her ass, right? So Mel was talking about, but she's really fun. Where is the fun? Where's the fun, Tiffany? Because I haven't yet to meet her, right? So then Tisha tells them that, she has a surprise for Marceau. It's a semi-vow renewal ceremony, right? So then little Miss Forehead Tiffany decides to bring up the surprise therapy. And she says it was a setup. And Destiny says, kind of like what your wedding was. I'm like, I was here for Destiny. I was here for Destiny in this whole scene right here because she was coming at Tiffany. She was hitting her right. She come at Tisha. Destiny comes back. I loved it when she said, when she was talking about that was a setup for her with him with the surprise therapy. Oh, it was also a setup for you to marry your husband, right? Exactly. Well, she said, but that was 2 years though, and we have been talking about. I don't give a damn how long y'all have been engaged, planning to get married. He wasn't moving his feet, obviously, and you had to set him up with a surprise wedding. So yeah, it is exactly the same thing. So go to hell, Tiffany. Please and thank you. So then Tisha says, well, it helped them, right? And then Tiffany's forehead asks, is she staying with him for the kids? And Tisha says, no, I'm not staying with him for the kids. So then Tiffany says, well, Marceau, he had a conversation with his boys, and, Lewis was telling me that, with the surprise therapy, that Marceau doesn't feel that you are, confident in yourself or in him. Mel. Mel is annoying me. Because Mel was in her interview with the producers, and she's like, if somebody gave you that kind of information, like, you should take that and run with it. Melody, that's not good information. If her husband felt that way, he should vocalize it to her. And, like, Tiffany is terrible. Tiffany's delivery is so freaking terrible, right? I just really want for Mel to stop defending the shit that Tiffany says, because somebody told me, and I don't know if it was Rock's comments, Misha's comments, or Ash's comments, but somebody's comments last week, they told me that Mel was okay with the fact that Tiffany called her a baby mama. Okay, girl, whatever. Like, Mel is annoying me at this point, right? But I'm here for Destiny, because Destiny called her on her mess, right? And Mel says, Destiny, stop doing that. Like, what do you mean? She's like, well, stop that. Like, tell her what you really are saying. I'm like, Mel, she's being very straightforward, because what Destiny basically said to Tiffany's big forehead ass was, there's a time and a place for things, right? And you don't have the couth. Like, you do this shit in front of an audience. Instead of pulling the person to the side and having a sidebar with them, you do things in person. You do this with the cameras around, with the group around. Instead of just being like, hey, Tisha, hey, Kimmy, hey, Destiny, can I talk to you to the side? So did Maurice tell you about little Maurice vaping? Oh, I think I remember where I met you from. I think I thought I had met you at a party, but then I met you at Mel's place, and then you said that wasn't you at that party. That was with your husband. And Tisha, your husband doesn't think that you're secure in him or in yourself. It's a time and a place for that, like with the couth, and handle it with couth. Like I said, Mel is just working my last motherfucking nerve. Mel know what she's doing. It's so funny, because I'm thinking back to last season, how much I crapped on Tisha, right? Because Tisha kept saying that all last season, Tisha said Mel was a mean girl, right? This season, you're seeing the mean side of Melody Holt, right? You are seeing it in person. Which and I defended Mel last season, but I defended Mel last season because Tisha is not an angel, and Tisha does her shit too, and wants to play victim. But this season, yeah, Mel has been a mean girl. Mel is being a mean girl through and through, and I'm not liking what I'm seeing. But that's it, you guys. Let me know what you guys thought about the episode. Leave your comments in the comment section below. Subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell button so you guys are notified when I drop anything else, and share the video. And until the next one, you guys, stay safe out there. Take care of yourselves. Remember to wash your hands, wear a mask, socially distance, be blessed, and I'm going to catch you guys later. Bye, guys.